The alarm woke Captain from a deep sleep. He jumped from his bed and ran to the bridge of his ship, the Iron Resolve. The red lights were flashing everywhere. Something was wrong. "Report!" shouted as he reached his command chair. His communications officer, a young woman named, turned to him with wide eyes. "Captain, we're picking up a distress signal. It's coming from Prime. The planet is under attack." Felt his stomach drop. Prime was a peaceful colony world. The people who lived there had never hurt anyone. They were scientists, teachers, and farmers. They didn't even have weapons. "Put it on speakers," ordered. The bridge filled with static, and then a voice came through. It was broken and filled with fear. "This is Prime. We need help. They are here. They're destroying everything. Please, anyone, we need help." The message cut off. Then it started again from the beginning. It was a loop, playing over and over. A recorded cry for help sent into space, hoping someone would hear it. "How many ships are attacking them?" asked. Checked her screens. "Sir, our long-range sensors show at least 30 warships in orbit around Prime, maybe more." 30 ships. The Iron Resolve was just one small frigate, had only 80 crew members and light weapons, but he couldn't ignore the distress call. It went against everything he believed in. "Send a message to the Galactic Council," said. "Tell them about the attack. Request immediate military assistance." His first officer shook his head. "Sir, the Council will take days to respond, maybe weeks. You know how they are. They'll want to investigate first, then debate, then vote." New was right. The Galactic Council was a group of alien species who worked together to keep peace in the galaxy. But they were slow, very slow. They talked and talked and talked. By the time they decided to help, they might all be dead. "Set a course for Prime," ordered. "Maximum speed." Looked worried. "Captain, we can't fight 30 warships alone. It would be suicide." "I know," said quietly, "but we can't leave them to die, not without trying something." The Iron Resolve turned and began racing through space toward Prime. It would take them 6 hours to get there. 6 long hours. Sat in his chair and stared at the stars rushing past. He thought about the people. He had met some of them once during a diplomatic mission. They were gentle creatures, tall and thin with blue skin and large eyes. They loved art and music. They had shown him paintings and played him songs. They had welcomed humans with open arms. And now they were dying. "Sir, we're receiving a response from the Galactic Council," said. "Let's hear it," replied. A pompous voice filled the bridge. "This is Counselor Vex of the Galactic Council. We have received your report about the attack on Prime. This is a very serious matter. We will begin an investigation immediately. Please maintain your current position and do not engage with forces. The Council will determine the appropriate response in accordance with all relevant treaties and protocols. Estimated response time, 14 to 21 standard days." 21 days. They would be extinct in 21 days. "Send them a reply," said. His voice was cold. "Tell them we're going anyway." His eyes went wide. "Sir, if you disobey a direct order from the Council, they'll court-martial you. You'll lose your command, maybe worse." Stood up from his chair. He looked at each member of his crew one by one. "I didn't join the human fleet to watch innocent people die while politicians argue about paperwork. If any of you want to object, speak now. I'll note it in the log. No one will blame you." The bridge was silent, then spoke up. "I'm with you, Captain." "Me too," said. One by one, every crew member voiced their agreement. They would follow their captain, even if it meant the end of their careers, even if it meant death. 5 hours later, they were close enough to establish direct communication with Prime. Tried several frequencies before someone answered. "This is Captain of the human ship Iron Resolve. We received your distress call. We're coming to help." There was a long pause, then a female voice responded. She sounded exhausted and scared. I'm coordinating the emergency shelters in the capital city. You're really coming. Someone is actually coming. Yes, said, we're 1 hour away. What's your situation? His voice broke. It's bad, so bad. They appeared 3 days ago. They demanded we surrender and become part of their empire. When we refused, they started bombing us. Our shields are failing. We have millions of people in underground shelters, but we can't hold out much longer. They're going to kill us all. How many ships are in orbit? Asked. 32, said. All warships. They have us completely surrounded. We can't escape. We can't fight back. We've never had weapons. We never thought we would need them. Closed his eyes. 32 warships against his 1 frigate. It was impossible, but he had to try. Listen to me carefully, said. We're going to do everything we can, but I need you to keep your people in those shelters. Don't let anyone come out no matter what happens. Do you understand? Yes, whispered, please hurry. The communication ended. Turn 2. Send out an emergency broadcast on all human military frequencies. Encrypted. Tell them where we are and what we're doing. Tell them we could use some help. Began typing. Sir, even if other human ships respond, they're hours away. Some are days away. I know, said, but they don't know that. Maybe we can bluff them, make them think a whole fleet is coming. It was a desperate plan, but desperation was all they had. The iron resolve dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. Ahead of them they could see the planet. It was beautiful, with green continents and blue oceans, but it was surrounded by warships, dark and menacing. They've detected us, reported. They're hailing us. Put them on, ordered. A harsh voice filled the bridge. Human vessel, you are entering a military operation zone. Leave immediately or be destroyed. Took a deep breath. This was it, the moment that would decide everything. This is captain of the human fleet, he said slowly. We are responding to a distress call from Prime. Leave this planet immediately or face the consequences. There was a pause, then the voice laughed. You are one small ship, we are 32 warships. You cannot win. Leave now and you will live. Smiled grimly. We're not leaving, and you should know something about humans. We don't calculate odds the way you do. We don't run when we should. We're making this our fight, and trust me, you don't want to fight humans. He nodded too. She cut the communication. Battle stations, ordered. Prepare for combat, and pray that our message reaches someone who can help. The iron resolve moved forward alone toward an enemy fleet 30 times its size. On the planet below, and millions of watched their sensors in disbelief. Help had come. Just one ship, but it had come. And in the darkness of space, something remarkable was about to happen. The message traveled through space at faster-than-light speed. It bounced from relay station to relay station, spreading across 3 sectors of human-controlled space. It was marked as priority emergency, encrypted with military codes that made every human ship's computers flash red. In the mess hall of the assault carrier Indomitable, Sergeant was eating breakfast when the alarms went off. He dropped his fork and ran to the briefing room with the other Marines. They moved fast, like they had done 1,000 times before. Captain stood at the front of the room. She was young for a captain, but she had earned respect through 3 combat tours. Her face was serious as she waited for everyone to arrive. Listen up, said when the room was full. 10 minutes ago, we received an encrypted message from Captain of the Iron Resolve. He's engaged with forces at Prime. 1 frigate against 32 enemy warships. He's calling for assistance. The room erupted in noise. Marines shouting questions, cursing, demanding details. Raised her hand for silence. The Galactic Council has ordered all ships to stand down. They say we're not authorized to intervene. They want to negotiate first. Felt anger rising in his chest. He had been a Marine for 15 years. He had fought on 12 different worlds. He knew what negotiation meant. It meant waiting. It meant letting people die while politicians talked. What are we doing, Captain? Asked. Smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone about to do something crazy. Officially, we're experiencing a major navigation system malfunction. Our computers are damaged. We can't control where the ship is going. And wouldn't you know it, we're heading straight for Prime. What a terrible accident. The Marines understood immediately. They started cheering and pounding on the tables. They were going to fight. Orders or no orders, they were going to help. Get your gear ready, ordered. We'll be in position for orbital drop in 18 hours. And Marines understand this. If we do this, it's the end of our careers. The Council will prosecute us for disobeying orders. We might spend years in prison. Anyone who wants to transfer to another ship before we jump, now's your chance. No shame in it. Nobody moved. Not one Marine stood up to leave. Felt proud to serve with these people. This was what it meant to be human. To do what was right, even when it was stupid. Even when you knew you would pay for it later. 3 sectors away, fighter pilot Bora was on shore leave. She was visiting her family on New Seoul Station when her communicator started beeping. She was in the middle of dinner with her mother and father. "I have to go," Bora said, standing up from the table. Her mother grabbed her arm. "You just got here. You've been gone for 6 months. Can't you stay for one meal?" Bora showed her mother the message on her communicator. "There's a ship in trouble. They need help." Her father, who had been a pilot himself many years ago, nodded slowly. "The Galactic Council told us to stand down," Bora said. Her father smiled. "Then you better hurry before they stop you." Bora hugged them both and ran. She made it to the hangar bay in 12 minutes. Her squadron was already there, doing pre-flight checks on their fighters. "You got the message too?" asked Minyu, her wing leader. "Everyone got it," Bora said. "Are we really doing this?" Minyu climbed into his fighter. "We're really doing this. They never hurt anyone, they're peaceful, and they are slaughtering them. If we don't help, who will?" Bora strapped into her own fighter. It was a small, fast ship with 2 missile pods and rapid-fire cannons. She had named it Sky Dancer and painted a bird on the side. She touched the painted bird for luck, like she always did before flying. "All fighters, this is Minyu," her squadron leader's voice came through her helmet. "We're launching without authorization. Command is going to be very angry with us. But I didn't join the fleet to sit around while good people die. Anyone who wants to back out, speak now." The communication channel was silent for 3 seconds. Then 16 pilots, one by one, confirmed they were ready to launch. The fighters screamed out of the hangar bay and jumped to faster-than-light travel. They were headed to Prime. All across human space, the same thing was happening. Ships were experiencing malfunctions. Captains were misunderstanding orders. Entire battle groups were suddenly unable to communicate with Fleet Command because of technical problems. On the destroyer Swift Justice, Commander told his crew they were going to practice navigation exercises. The exercises just happened to take them toward Prime. On the supply ship Mountain Wind, Captain told her crew they were responding to a medical emergency. The emergency just happened to be at Prime. On the patrol cruiser Dawn's Edge, the captain didn't bother with excuses. He just told his crew the truth. They were going to help, and anyone who didn't like it could file a complaint later. 12 human warships, 8 supply vessels, 47 fighter squadrons. They were coming from different directions, different sectors, different commands, but they were all headed to the same place. On the bridge of the Iron Resolve, still facing down the fleet alone, Captain received status updates from. "Sir, I'm picking up faster-than-light signatures," she said. Her voice was shaking with emotion. "Multiple ships dropping out of warp. They're broadcasting human identification codes." Felt hope surge through him. "How many?" "4 so far, sir." "No, wait. 7, 10, sir. There are ships arriving from multiple vectors. They're surrounding the fleet." On his main screen, watched as human ships appeared one by one. They were different sizes and classes. Some were warships. Some were just cargo haulers with guns welded to the hull, but they were all here. His communicator crackled to life. It was Captain from the Indomitable. "Captain, this is the cavalry. Sorry we're late. Ran into some navigation problems." Laughed, actually laughed. "Good to see you, Indomitable. Glad you could make it." "Wouldn't miss it," replied. "We brought some friends." More ships were arriving every minute. The human fleet was still outnumbered, but not by much anymore, and more were coming. The admiral, watching from his flagship, saw what was happening. He opened a communication channel to all human ships. "This is Admiral of the Dominion," he said. His voice was angry. "You are interfering in territory. These actions are illegal under Galactic Council law. Leave now or we will destroy you." There was a pause, then responded, broadcasting to both the and the human fleet. "This is Captain. I want to make something very clear to you, Admiral. We don't care about your laws. We don't care about your empire. We care about the innocent people you're murdering down on that planet, and we're not leaving until you do." "Then you will die," Admiral said. "We outnumber you, we have bigger ships, better weapons, you cannot win." Captain's voice cut in. "Admiral, I don't think you understand humans very well. We don't fight to win. We fight because it's the right thing to do, and we're really, really good at fighting." Minu's voice joined in next. "Yeah, and here's something else you should know. More human ships are coming. Lots more. They're probably already on their way. You can either leave now with your ships intact, or you can stay and find out how nasty humans can be when we're angry." It was a bluff. The human ships already here were probably all that would come, but they didn't know that. Admiral considered his options. He looked at his tactical display. The humans had positioned themselves cleverly, covering the planet from multiple angles. They were ready to fight, and they knew the reputation of human warriors: crazy, aggressive, unwilling to surrender even when defeat was certain. "All vessels," Admiral commanded. "Attack formation. We will teach these humans a lesson about interfering in affairs." On every human ship, alarms sounded. Weapons powered up. Marines grabbed their rifles. Pilots checked their missiles. "Here they come," said quietly on the Iron Resolve's bridge. Sat in his command chair and watched the warships begin to move. He thought about his crew, about all the humans who had come to help, about the people hiding in their shelters below. "All ships," transmitted. "This is it. Hold nothing back, fight like humans, and remember why we're here." The fleet accelerated forward. The human fleet accelerated to meet them. In the space between them, the distance closed rapidly. On Prime watched the sensors with tears running down her face. Help had come. Not just one ship, but many. They were going to fight for her people. They were going to die for strangers. She sent one message to the human fleet: "Thank you." The battle began. The first missiles crossed the darkness between the two fleets. Explosions bloomed in the black like deadly flowers. The warships fired their heavy plasma cannons, beams of superheated energy that could melt through armor in seconds. The human ships scattered. They didn't hold formation like the expected. Instead, they broke apart and attacked from different angles. It was chaos, but it was planned chaos. "All fighters launch," commanded from the Indomitable. Bora felt her fighter drop from the carrier's belly. Around her, 46 other fighters launched at the same time. They formed up quickly and accelerated toward the fleet. "Stay tight," Minu said over the communication channel. "We need to punch through their screen. Our Marines can't drop until we clear a path." They had point defense weapons designed to shoot down small craft. Bora saw 3 fighters explode before they even got close. She gritted her teeth and kept flying. "Break on my mark," Minu ordered. 3, 2, 1, break. The fighter squadron split into 4 groups, each attacking from a different direction. The guns couldn't track them all. Bora's group dove under a destroyer, so close she could see the hull plating. She fired her missiles at the ship's engine ports. The explosions were beautiful and terrible. The destroyer began to spin, losing power. "Good hit," Minyu shouted. "Keep moving, don't let them lock onto you." Bora pulled her fighter into a tight loop. A plasma beam passed through the space where she had been a second earlier. Too close, way too close. "This is Sky Dancer," Bora transmitted. "I'm through the screen, path is open." "Confirmed," replied from the Indomitable. "Marines, you are go for drop. I repeat, you are go for drop." In the belly of the assault carrier, and his squad sealed their armor suits. The drop pods were small, cramped metal cylinders that would carry them from orbit down to the planet's surface. They were basically controlled missiles with Marines inside. "Listen up," shouted to his squad. "We're dropping into a hot zone. They have ground forces surrounding the capital city. Our job is to establish a perimeter around the civilian shelters and hold it. No get through. Understood?" "Yes, Sergeant," his squad shouted back. Climbed into his pod. The door sealed with a hiss. Inside, it was dark except for a small screen showing tactical data. He could hear his own breathing inside the helmet. His heart was pounding. "Pods away in 10 seconds, his voice said over the communication channel. "Good luck, Marines." Felt the pod shake as the launch mechanism engaged. Then there was a tremendous bang and he was thrown back against the seat. The pod shot out of the carrier and into space. Through his small window, saw dozens of other pods launching. They looked like shooting stars falling toward the planet, but they were falling up toward the fleet. "Incoming fire," someone shouted. "They're shooting at the pods." His pod shook as explosions erupted around it. They were trying to destroy them before they reached the planet. His screen showed red warning lights. The pod's shields were taking hits. "Keep formation," ordered, "push through." The pods plunged through the fleet. More explosions, more warnings. Saw 2 pods disappear in bright flashes. Marines he had trained with, friends, gone in an instant. But the rest kept falling. The pods entered the planet's atmosphere at incredible speed. The friction made them glow red hot. Felt like he was inside a falling meteor. The pod shook so hard his teeth rattled. Down in the shelter, watched her sensors. "They're coming," she whispered. "The humans are dropping soldiers from orbit." The around her stared at the screen in disbelief. Orbital drops were insane. Most species considered it suicide. The pods had to fall through enemy fire, survive atmospheric entry, and land in hostile territory. The casualty rate was usually 30 to 40%. But humans did it anyway. The pods screamed across the sky above the capital city. The ground forces looked up in shock. What were these burning objects falling from above? His pod hit the ground with tremendous force. The impact knocked the air from his lungs. Restraints released automatically and the door blew open. He grabbed his rifle and jumped out. Around him, other pods were landing. Marines poured out, weapons ready. The pods had landed in a rough circle around the shelter entrances, exactly as planned. "Defensive positions," shouted, "set up the barriers." The Marines moved with practiced efficiency. They pulled portable shield generators from their pods and activated them. Energy barriers flickered to life, creating a protective perimeter. Heavy weapons were set up on tripods. Ammunition was distributed. They had maybe 5 minutes before the attack. "This is to all units," he transmitted. "Perimeter established. We're dug in and ready." "Copy that," responded from orbit. "You've got forces moving toward your position. Looks like 3 companies, about 600 soldiers. They'll reach you in 4 minutes." 600 against 90 Marines. Not good odds, but had faced worse. "Let them come," he said. He checked his rifle. It was a simple kinetic weapon firing metal slugs at hypersonic speed. Nothing fancy like energy weapons, just bullets, but bullets worked. They appeared over the ridge to the east. They were large creatures, heavily armored and carrying plasma rifles. They moved in organized ranks, confident in their superior numbers. "Hold fire," ordered. Wait until they're in range. The advanced, closer, closer, could see their faces now through his scope. They looked almost bored, like this would be an easy fight. Now shouted. 90 human rifles opened fire at once. The sound was deafening. The front rank of soldiers went down as armor-piercing rounds tore through their shields and armor. The second rank fell. The third rank faltered. Keep firing, ordered. Don't let them recover. The heavy weapons opened up. Explosive rounds hit the formation, sending bodies flying. They had expected an easy assault. They had not expected this level of firepower or accuracy. The commander shouted orders and his troops spread out, taking cover behind rocks and destroyed buildings. They began returning fire. Plasma beams hit the Marines' energy shields, draining power. Conserve shield power, shouted. Fire discipline, pick your targets. Above them, Bora's fighter screamed past. She fired her cannons at the positions, strafing runs that sent the enemy soldiers diving for cover. This is Sky Dancer, Bora transmitted. Making another pass, keep your heads down, Marines. She pulled her fighter around and attacked again. Her missiles struck an armored vehicle, destroying it in a massive explosion. The troops began to pull back, confused by the aerial assault. They're retreating, one of the Marines shouted. No, they're not, said grimly. They're regrouping. They'll be back with more soldiers and heavier weapons. He was right. 10 minutes later, they attacked again. This time they had twice as many troops and they brought artillery. The shells hit the Marine perimeter hard, shaking the ground. Shields at 60%, someone shouted. Return fire on those artillery positions, ordered. The battle became a grinding exchange. They would attack, the Marines would drive them back. Then they would attack again. Each time they came with more force. Couldn't stand it anymore. She grabbed a medical kit and ran to the surface. Others followed her. They found wounded Marines behind the defensive line. Saw her and ran over. Get back in the shelter, it's not safe. These soldiers are wounded because of us, said. We can help. She knelt beside a Marine whose armor was cracked and scorched. She opened her medical kit and began treating his burns. The Marine looked at her in surprise. Thank you, he said. No, replied. Thank you for coming, for fighting for us. All around the perimeter, civilians emerged from the shelters. They couldn't fight, but they could help. They carried ammunition. They treated wounds. They brought water to exhausted Marines. Saw it and felt something in his chest. This was why they fought, not for glory or orders or politics, for people like who were brave enough to help even when they were terrified. Incoming, someone shouted. Looked up and saw aircraft approaching. Attack bombers heavily armed. If they got through, they would destroy the entire perimeter. But before they could attack, human fighters intercepted them. Bora and her squadron engaged the bombers in a furious dogfight. The sky above the city became a battlefield. Hold the line, shouted to his Marines. We hold here no matter what. They attacked again, and the Marines held. They held because humans don't give up. They held because people were counting on them. They held because that's what warriors do. In orbit, the fleet battle raged on. Ships on both sides were damaged, burning, dying. But the human ships kept fighting. They fought with a ferocity that shocked those who had thought this would be an easy conquest. Captain stood on the bridge of the Iron Resolve, watching his ship take hit after hit. They were still in the fight, but barely. Sir, said quietly, we have a battlecruiser targeting the planet. It's charging its main gun. If it fires, it will destroy the capital city and everyone in it. Looked at the tactical display. The battlecruiser was huge, 10 times the size of his frigate, but it was focused on the planet, not on other ships. Set a collision course, ordered. Sir, eyes went wide. You heard me, said calmly. Order all crew to the escape pods. Evacuate the ship. You have 2 minutes. Captain, you can't. That's an order, Commander said. Now go. saluted, tears in his eyes. He ran to carry out the order. Sat alone on the bridge as the crew evacuated. He programmed the course into the ship's computer. The iron resolve began accelerating toward the battle cruiser. "This is Captain," he transmitted to the fleet. "It's been an honor serving with you all. Tell that we said hello." The iron resolve, burning and damaged but still flying, crashed into the battle cruiser at full speed. The explosion was visible from the planet's surface. Both ships were destroyed instantly. But the capital city was saved. Saw the explosion in orbit and knew what it meant. She had been communicating with Captain. Now he was gone. She felt tears roll down her face, but she kept working. She kept treating the wounded Marines. Captain had sacrificed himself to save her city. The least she could do was save as many of his soldiers as possible. The battle on the ground continued. It had been 6 hours since the Marines landed, 6 hours of constant fighting. His voice was hoarse from shouting orders. His armor was scorched and dented. His rifle was running low on ammunition. "Ammo check," he called out. The responses came back. Everyone was running low. They had attacked 7 times now. Each attack was beaten back, but it cost ammunition and lives. They had started with 90 Marines. Now they were down to 68. "This is indomitable," Captain's voice came through his communicator. "We're holding position in orbit, but we've taken heavy damage. We can't send more supplies or troops. You're going to have to make what you have last." "Understood," replied. "How's the fleet battle going?" There was a pause. "We're holding them, barely. But more ships are arriving. They called for reinforcements. We're going to be outnumbered 3-1 in about 4 hours. Felt his stomach sink. "Can we win?" "I don't know," said honestly. "But we're not leaving. We'll fight until we can't fight anymore." Looked around at his Marines. They were exhausted, wounded, and low on supplies. But they were still here, still fighting. That was what mattered. "We'll hold," said. "As long as you need us to, we'll hold this position." Approached him with a cup of water. "Sergeant, you need to drink something." Removed his helmet and drank. The water was warm, but it tasted like heaven. "Thank you." "No," said again. She seemed to say that a lot. "Thank you, Captain, and we saw what he did. He saved millions of us." Nodded slowly. He was a good man, a good captain. He did what humans do. "What's that?" asked. "We fight for people we don't know. We die for people we've never met. It's stupid. It doesn't make sense, but it's who we are." An explosion rocked the perimeter. They were attacking again. Put his helmet back on and grabbed his rifle. "Get back to the shelter, now." Ran, helping other civilians back underground. Returned to his position on the defensive line. This attack was different. They had brought mechs, giant war machines that stood 30 feet tall and carried massive weapons. They walked toward the human perimeter like metal monsters. "Target those mechs," ordered. "Concentrate fire." The Marines fired everything they had. Bullets bounced off the mech's armor. Missiles struck but barely slowed them down. "We need air support," transmitted. "Those mechs are going to overrun us." "Air support is engaged," Minu's voice responded. "We're fighting off fighters, hold on." But they couldn't hold. One of the mechs reached the perimeter and smashed through the energy shield. Its massive foot came down on a Marine position, crushing it. "Fall back to secondary positions," ordered. The Marines retreated in good order, still firing, but they were losing ground. The mechs kept advancing, unstoppable. Then Bora's fighter appeared. She was flying low, so low thought she would crash. She was heading straight for the mechs. "Sky Dancer, what are you doing?" Minu shouted over the communication channel. "Something stupid," Bora replied. She fired all her remaining missiles at once. They struck the lead mech's leg joints, the weakest part of the armor. The explosion severed the leg and the mech fell, crashing to the ground. But Bora was too low and too close. The explosion caught her fighter. Watched in horror as her ship spun out of control. She tried to pull up but couldn't. The fighter crashed into the ground beyond the perimeter. "Sky Dancer is down," someone shouted. "We need to get her." "I'm going," said. He grabbed 2 Marines. "Cover us." They ran out from the perimeter toward the crashed fighter. Soldiers were also moving toward it, wanting to capture the pilot. It became a race. Reached the fighter first. The canopy was cracked but intact. He could see Bora inside, unconscious and bleeding. He and the other Marines forced the canopy open and pulled her out. Soldiers appeared over a ridge, firing, and his Marines returned fire while carrying Bora. Bullets and plasma beams crossed the air around them. They made it back to the perimeter, was there immediately with her medical kit. She began treating Bora's injuries while returned to the defensive line. The battle continued, hour after hour. The sun set and darkness fell. The fighting continued under the stars. Explosions lit the night like deadly fireworks. In orbit, the fleet battle was just as desperate. More ships had arrived. The human fleet was battered and bloodied. Ships that had fought bravely were now floating debris, but the survivors fought on. Captain stood on the bridge of the Indomitable. Her ship had taken dozens of hits. Fires burned on 3 decks. Half her weapons were offline, but she was still in command and her ship was still fighting. "Ma'am, we're receiving a transmission from the flagship," her communication officer said. "Put it through," ordered. Admiral's face appeared on the screen. He looked tired and frustrated. "Captain, this is pointless. We have more ships arriving. You cannot win. Surrender now and we will allow your survivors to leave peacefully." Actually laughed. "Admiral, you don't get it. Humans don't surrender, it's not in our nature. We fight until we win or until we die. There is no middle ground." "Then you will all die," Admiral said. "Uselessly, for people who are not even your species." "Maybe," replied, "but we'll die knowing we did the right thing. Can you say the same? You're attacking peaceful people who never hurt anyone. You're a bully, and humans really hate bullies." She cut the transmission. "All ships, we're not done yet. We fight until the last ship. We fight until the last Marine. We fight because that's what humans do. Understood?" "Yes, Captain," came the responses from every human ship still functioning. On the ground, checked his ammunition again. He was down to his last magazine. Around him, Marines were using weapons they had scavenged from fallen enemies. They were making it work. Bora had woken up. Her head was bandaged and she had a broken arm, but she was conscious. She sat with the other wounded, refusing to return to the shelter. "How bad is it?" she asked. "Bad," he admitted. "We've been fighting for 20 hours. We're almost out of ammunition. They keep attacking, and they're getting reinforcements." "Are we going to lose?" Bora asked. "Thought about it. Probably. But we're going to make them pay for every inch. We're going to hold this line until we physically can't hold it anymore." Bora nodded. "Good, that's what I wanted to hear." Came over to them. "Sergeant, I want to ask you something. Why are you doing this? Why are humans dying for us? You don't know us. We're not your people." Looked at her. "That's exactly why. Because you're not our people, but you need help. And when someone needs help, humans answer. It's not complicated. You were in trouble. We came. That's it." "But you're going to die," said. Her voice was breaking. "Maybe," said. "But we'll die for something that matters. We'll die protecting millions of innocent people. There are worse ways to go." They attacked again. The 10th attack of the battle. The Marines were exhausted, out of ammunition and wounded. But they held the line. When their bullets ran out, they used weapons. When those ran out, they used knives in their hands. Found himself fighting hand-to-hand with a soldier. The alien was bigger and stronger, but was faster and meaner. He fought like a human, dirty, desperate, and unwilling to give up. He won barely. The attack was beaten back, but knew they couldn't survive another one. They were finished. The Marines had given everything they had. There was nothing left. "This is Indomitable's," voice came through weakly. We're We're detecting new faster-than-light signatures, multiple ships, very large there. Wait. There was a long pause, held his breath. It's the Galactic Council fleet, said. Her voice was filled with emotion. They're here. The Council finally came. Looked up at the sky. He couldn't see the battle in orbit, but he could imagine it. Council warships dropping out of faster-than-light travel. Big, powerful, and fresh for battle, that would have to retreat or face destruction. All forces, this is the Galactic Council, a new voice transmitted. You are ordered to cease hostilities immediately and withdraw from Prime. Failure to comply will result in military action. On the perimeter, the Marines waited. Would they keep fighting? The answer came minutes later. The ground forces began pulling back. They were retreating. The battle was over. Fell to his knees. Around him, Marines collapsed from exhaustion. Some were crying. Some were laughing. They had done it. Against impossible odds, they had held the line long enough. Ran to and hugged him. You did it. You saved us. We all did it together, said. He was so tired he could barely speak. Victory tasted like blood, smoke, and tears, but it was victory. 3 days after the battle ended, stood in what had been the Marine perimeter. Medical teams from the Galactic Council were helping the wounded. Engineers were clearing debris. They were emerging from their shelters, blinking in the sunlight they hadn't seen for a week. The battlefield looked different in daylight. Could see the scars, the blast craters, the destroyed buildings, the burned ground. But he could also see children running and playing, alive because humans had held the line. A council official approached him. The alien was tall and thin with gray skin. Sergeant, I need to ask you some questions about the battle. Am I under arrest? Asked. He was too tired to care anymore. That has not been decided yet, the official said carefully. You and your fellow humans violated direct orders from the Galactic Council. You engaged in military action without authorization. These are serious charges. We saved millions of lives, said flatly. While your council was debating, people were dying. We did what needed to be done. The official looked uncomfortable. Yes, well, the council is investigating the matter. For now, you and your people should rest. Medical treatment will be provided. Walked away from the official. He didn't want to talk about politics. He wanted to find his Marines and make sure they were okay. He found them gathered near one of the shelters. They were drinking water and eating rations provided by the... Bora was there too, her arm in a sling but smiling. Sergeant, one of the Marines called out. They are asking if we want to see something. Approached with a group of civilians. Sergeant, there's something we want to show you and your people. Please, will you come? Nodded. He and 30 Marines followed into the city. What they saw stopped them in their tracks. They had painted a mural on the side of a building. It showed human drop pods falling from the sky like shooting stars. It showed Marines fighting on the ground. It showed Bora's fighters streaking overhead. And at the top, it showed the Iron Resolve crashing into the battlecruiser. Below the mural, in dozens of languages including human, were the names of every human who had died in the battle. Captain's name was first. We wanted you to know that we will never forget, said. We will teach our children about the humans who descended from the sky when no help seemed coming. We will remember every name, every sacrifice. Felt tears in his eyes. He wasn't ashamed of them. His Marines were crying too, even the tough ones who acted like nothing bothered them. It's beautiful, said. Thank you. That evening there was a memorial service, and humans gathered together. One by one they spoke about the fallen. They told stories. They cried. They honored the dead. When it was turn to speak, she walked to the front. She looked at the crowd of both species, then began. 3 weeks ago my world was dying. They were destroying us and we had no hope. We called for help. We sent our distress signal into the darkness of space, praying someone would hear. But the galaxy is vast and we are small. We did not think anyone would come. She paused, emotion thick in her voice. Then we saw them, not a fleet, just one small ship, the Iron Resolve. Captain and his crew came knowing they could not win. They came knowing they would probably die. But they came anyway because it was the right thing to do. Then more ships arrived. More humans. They had no orders to help us. In fact, their orders were to stay away. But they disobeyed. They threw away their careers, their futures, maybe their freedom to save people they had never met. I watched human warriors fall from the sky in metal pods. I watched them fight for 38 hours without stopping. I watched them stand between us and death. I watched Captain sacrifice his ship and his life to save our capital city. His voice grew stronger. The galaxy sees humans as violent, as aggressive, as dangerous, and maybe they are. But I learned something about humans in the past 3 weeks. They are violent in defense of the weak. They are aggressive in pursuit of justice. They are dangerous only to bullies and tyrants. When no help seemed coming, humans descended from the sky, not as conquerors, not as saviors, as warriors who chose to stand with us. And we will never, ever forget that. The crowd was silent for a moment. Then there began a gesture that was their version of applause, a humming sound that grew louder and louder. The humans joined in, not knowing what else to do. After the service, found Bora sitting alone, looking up at the stars. "How are you feeling?" he asked. "Sore, broken, alive," Bora said with a smile. "Better than the alternative." "You saved a lot of Marines when you crashed that mech," said. "That was incredibly stupid and incredibly brave." "Thanks, I think," Bora laughed. "What do you think will happen to us? Will they really prosecute us?" Shrugged. "I don't know. We broke the rules. We disobeyed orders. By the book, we should be court-martialed." "Was it worth it?" Bora asked. Looked around at the city. Children were playing in the streets. Families were reunited. Life was continuing. Yeah, it was worth it. 2 weeks later, the Galactic Council made their decision. All humans who had fought at Prime were officially reprimanded. Some lost rank. Some lost positions. But none were imprisoned. The Council couldn't ignore the fact that millions of lives had been saved. More importantly, the Council couldn't ignore the wave of support for the humans. Species across the galaxy had watched the battle. They had seen humans risk everything to save strangers. Public opinion was firmly on the side of the warriors who had descended from the sky. The Dominion was ordered to pay reparations to Prime. Admiral was stripped of command and exiled for attacking a peaceful species. Captain received a new command. The Indomitable was too damaged to repair, but she was given a new assault carrier. She named it the Iron Resolve in honor of Captain. Was promoted despite his official reprimand. His squad was given medals and commendations. He kept his medal in a drawer. It didn't matter to him. What mattered were the lives they had saved. Bora returned to active duty after her arm healed. She was given a new fighter. She named it Sky Dancer II and painted the same bird on the side. Every time she flew, she remembered why she fought. 6 months after the battle, received a message. It was from, she had been elected to lead the government. Her first official act was to propose an alliance with humanity. "We want to learn from you," the message said. "Not how to fight, but how to have courage. How to stand up for what's right even when it's difficult. The galaxy needs more of that. The galaxy needs more humans." Smiled when he read it. He sent back a simple reply. "We'll teach you what we can, but you already have courage. You proved that when you came out of the shelters to help us. Courage isn't about being fearless. It's about being afraid and helping anyway." The story of Prime spread across the galaxy. It became legend. Parents told it to their children. Teachers taught it in schools. And whenever someone asked, "Why do humans fight so hard for others?" the answer was always the same. Because it's the right thing to do. Years later, a young alien student asked her teacher about humans. Are they really as fierce as the stories say? The teacher, who had been at Prime, nodded. Yes, but more importantly, they're loyal. When you're in trouble, when everyone else has abandoned you, when no help seems coming, look to the sky. Because if there are humans anywhere nearby, they'll come. They'll always come. Why? The student asked. The teacher smiled. Because that's what warriors do. That's what humans do. They see someone in trouble and they help. Not because they have to, not because they're ordered to, because they choose to. And that choice, that decision to stand for others, is what makes them truly dangerous to those who prey on the weak. The student looked thoughtful. I want to be like that. I want to be brave like a human. Then be brave, the teacher said. Stand up for others. Do what's right even when it's hard. That's the lesson humans taught us at Prime. It's not about being human. It's about being willing to be the person who descends from the sky when others need help. On Earth, in a military cemetery, there is a memorial wall. On it are the names of all who died at Prime. Above the names is a simple inscription. They descended from the sky when no help seemed coming. They fought for strangers. They died for freedom. They were warriors. They were humans. They were heroes. And every year on the anniversary of the battle, both humans and gather at that wall. They tell stories. They remember names. They honor sacrifice. Because some things should never be forgotten. Some lessons are too important to lose. And some warriors, even in death, continue to inspire. Attended every memorial service until he was too old to stand. Even then, he came in a wheelchair. When people asked him why he still came every year, he had a simple answer. I come to remember my friends. I come to remember why we fought. And I come to remind myself that what we did mattered. Not because we won. Not because we survived. But because when people needed help, we answered the call. That's what I want to be remembered for. That's what I want humans to be remembered for. We were the ones who descended from the sky. The end.